The Unknown Bookstore opened on the second Friday of October, which just happened to fall on the 13th. Perhaps that was a bad omen. The parking spaces in front of the shop were vacant, in spite of the open sign being in the window. The lights were on inside, so I decided to go in and have a look around. Inside, the air smelled dusty, old, not at all like a place that just opened. The front windows diffused the sunlight, aging it somehow. A man in an argyle sweater scurried from behind the counter. "I hope you're not looking for anything in particular." I laughed at his unlikely sales pitch. "I'm quite serious." His eyes glared from behind thick lenses. "I only sell unknown authors here." Just like the sign says out front. It's an interesting approach, I'll give you that. "I have a strict policy for first-time customers." He beckoned me to follow him to a bookshelf. There was nothing labeling it as fiction or non, romance or horror. "The first book is always free, but you can only choose by its title." Not even a hint as to category? Not one. "Put another way, you'll get nothing from me," said the chickadee. "Put another way? Okay, I get it. No clue." He laced his fingers across his chest. "Choose wisely. Read it. Then come back next week. And bring your friends." That might sound like a strangely intriguing way to do business, but if you think about it, isn't that the way we choose our books, especially if it's a new author or an unknown author? We can stare at shelves in a bookstore, the spines of hundreds of books, or scroll through web pages and see titles flashing by. What makes some of those titles blur into the details of the background, as opposed to those that stand out and welcome you, intrigue you? As writers, we have to capture our audience within our web of words before they even crack the pages of our novel. That's what we're going to be talking about today. My name is Robert Jones. The door is open. Come on in. You're entering the realm of the story detective. This video has some hidden treasures for you. Give it a thumbs up. If you hate it, give it a thumbs down and leave your argument down below. And remember to subscribe on your way out. Or just hit that subscribe button now because you don't want to miss any of my future uploads. So why are titles so important? I've heard it said that titles are the doorway to your book. And more than that, it's the gateway, it's the portal that leads them into the realm from which your story takes place. And before we get into that, I want to say a few words on probably the biggest mistake we all make. When we first start writing and we come to titles, we usually have our favorite authors and we think we want our titles to sound like them because we're usually writing in the same genre. The problem is, a lot of popular authors and a lot of publishing companies will put titles on books that probably aren't the greatest of titles. The title to a popular author is their name. That's why you see the name in 3-inch type and the title is half the size down at the bottom. It doesn't matter once you're that popular what the title is. But we look at those titles and we see the resonance that the author carries. That's what everyone sees. It's their emotional resonance. And we all want to come up with those strong, catchy titles that have that single word that pop out at you like warrior, soldier, the widow. Okay, let's look at that title. A title like The Widow could apply to several different genres. If Nicholas Sparks wrote a novel called The Widow, think about it. You're going to empathize with the widow before you even open the covers to that book. You're going to know that she suffered and went through some kind of tremendous turmoil in her life. So the emotion is already there because that's what Nicholas Sparks does. If Stephen King wrote a novel called The Widow, you would think, okay, what is he up to now? Who is the widow? Is she a vampire, some creature, or has some special abilities? Is she devouring people in her basement? So Stephen King carries his own emotional resonance. The title The Widow doesn't. You could come up with a title called The Widow, or I could come up with it, and people are going to think, oh my gosh, another story about a mysterious widow? Who needs that? No. Nope. Never. The Widow. Where's the imagination? Where's the originality? Now I need an aspirin. And this is all your fault. You know what I mean? We've all been there when nothing is clicking. And that's because the titles aren't resonating somehow on an emotional level with us. And therein lies our first clue. If you're looking at titles that have emotion, how many titles have you seen that have words like hope, courage, fear, terror? Because they're looking to evoke that emotion within the reader's mind before they ever get to the book. They know that that's going to be the flavor, the theme. Somehow it ties in. The same can be applied to elemental titles. Elements. Think of all the titles. There are hundreds, thousands that have earth, wind, air, fire, storm. They abound. And there's a reason for that. Because elements are nature. And Mother Nature is the most powerful energy that we know. Can an emotion add something to your title? Can an element add some kind of power that energizes your title to the reader? Let's take that up to the next level. Titles that make promises. What that promise is depends on the character, depends on the story, but it's universal. It doesn't matter whether you're writing a movie, a bestseller, or a comic book. People know that when you make a promise within your title, that it draws readers in. Stan Lee understood this back in the 1960s when he and Jack Kirby were creating Marvel Comics. Think of The Amazing Spider-Man, The Incredible Hulk, The Fantastic Four. Those titles promise something amazing, incredible, fantastic. He knew what he was doing when it came to titles. This video would be amiss if I didn't offer some type of tribute to the man, the myth, the legend that we lost last year. Stan Lee, along with guys like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, brought a different era to comic books where they gave the characters real problems, brought continuity to their stories long before television ever thought of such a thing. And that world he helped create fostered many creators, including myself. I never would have gotten to work on covers like the one you see in the background, or work with so many amazing characters if not for Stan. If Stan Lee's life affected yours in an important way, type Excelsior in the comments below. And if you're so inclined to share your story, let us know how he affected your life. Think of Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events. Would it have sold as well if it was called a series of happy events? The unfortunate factor is what brings readers in. And you stay tuned to see what happens to the Baudelaire twins next. What about the curious life of Benjamin Button? The curious factor incites our curiosity to try to figure out why his life is so curious. And think about it, not just the 2008 movie, but F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote that novel back in 1922. So it's been inciting people's curiosity ever since. Did the title have something to do with that? I think it did. Could adding a promise to your title of something fabulous, amazing, incredible, fantastic be the key to luring readers to checking out your book? The absolute best titles, those that have stood the test of time, are usually, or at least quite often, metaphors. And we have to look at those books that have stood the test of time and our own history for literary culture and draw from that. Think about titles like The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, A Movable Feast, Tender is the Night. They're all metaphors. Okay, I hear what you're saying. Most of those titles are from literary novels. Can those same metaphors be changed up and used for other genres? Let's take a look. As you can see, what I've done here is simply choose a few words that could replace one of the keywords in each title. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter could be a passionate hunter or a solitary hunter, or an erotic hunter. Each word gives it a different type of resonance, and it could transform the title into a different genre than it was originally intended to be in. A movable feast could be a crimson feast, an impractical feast, or a human feast. And tender as the night could be sensual as the night, or deadly, or callous. Pick a word that suits your genre. These titles are far from perfect. It's going to take a little bit of time to actually come up with a good metaphor. And why shouldn't it? These are the first words that your readers, anyone coming to your book, is going to see first. It's worth your time to find the right metaphor to lift your title and resonate with your subject matter. I found this online while doing a search for book titles. It's from TaraSparlingWrites.com, and Tara has these book title generators for every genre, including holiday books. And if you look at the columns and just read it across randomly, if wishes would heal, why skies can lie, they all form these little metaphors, and they give you a very good basis to get you running for titles. I think that Tara's website is worth checking out. She's funny and clever, and definitely will benefit you when it comes to generating titles. There's something else I should probably tell you. If you do find the Unknown Bookshop popping up in your town, there's another clause that the seller has if you choose a title unwisely.
Now, Robert, you promised not to tell.